If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
This is Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News. And I'm James Creechbaum. Earth set to enter a 30-year miniature ice age. Scientists have warned that a long period of particularly low solar activity could lead to much colder winters. Now, in news that would seem to be a complete contradiction to global warming predictions, scientists are now claiming that the next 30 years could actually bring an extended spell of abnormally cold weather. A completely blind man after a car accident began to see. From time to time, situations arise that are hard to believe. One of the most unusual stories is about a man who regained his vision after an accident. After 20 years, a man with a smile on his face told his family that he could see again. The miracle happened after the accident. No one to this day knows what healed the man. Dozens of cursed tablets found in a poisoned well. 30 lead tablets have been found at the bottom of an old well in Athens, Greece. The tablets, which date back to 2,500 years, were located in Athens' main burial ground of Keramikos and were engraved with ancient curses asking the gods of the underworld to do harm to those mentioned in the curse. The cursed tablets were all made of lead, meaning that they would have poisoned the water. Since conducting hexes were not allowed in Athens during that time, those who wished to do harm to others had to find more creative ways of conducting their curses, which is why they threw the lead tablets into the wells. Nepal cancels a Yeti tourism promotion due to controversial inaccurate Yeti statue. In folk tales, the Yeti has been described as a big monkey-like creature. However, the recent logo depicts it as a sumo wrestler. This does not at all match with the mythical character that has been described in many folk tales. The history of crystal skulls, how ordinary things become extraordinary. Just as the name implies, crystal skulls are skulls that are made out of quartz crystal. The skulls are claimed to be of pre-Columbian origin and possess various paranormal powers. These claims include the power to heal as well as the power to have visions. Also, here's another sighting that came in. As I got approximately 20 feet away from the stump, I turned around and glared. It turned around and glared at me, then directly stood up and rotated its body facing me. It was a classic description, at least 7 foot tall, and if I was to guess, I would say 350 to 400 pounds in height. It was dark brown grayish in color and huge in general. I briefly looked to my left and could see my dad directly across the pond, 75 to 100 yards away. I looked back in front of me, and all I saw was the movement of grasshoppers, flying away from bushes and moving. If anybody knows about the outdoors and seeing this stuff, you know what I'm talking about. I turned and ran so fast to the company of my fellow hunters and never looked back. As we were driving down one of the long gravel roads back to one of the guest houses to sleep, I saw what looked to be a huge 8-foot hairy ape-looking thing pop up and run out from under a cattle guard and into the woods. For the longest time, I thought that someone was playing a prank on me, but nobody ever said anything about it. I've never hallucinated or seen anything else at all strange that couldn't be explained in my entire life. Here's another one. I probably told a few people, but nobody ever believed me, so I just assumed I was seeing things. But that doesn't really add up. Now that I think about it, it wasn't dressed in clothing. I could see that if it was a man, that it was a very tall man in a monkey suit. I don't even know how it would fit under a cattle guard. It also moved so fast. I saw it dart from the cattle guard to the tree line and vanish in a matter of seconds, which is another reason I don't think it was a man in a suit. It was fast, almost as fast as a deer running across the road. The hair was gray, off-white color, and maybe gray-brown. My family were out at the lake up around Paradise, California. My father was a big man, lots of muscles. He's 6'5", weighs 310. I had never seen my dad afraid of anything. He was on the other side of the lake. It was very peaceful. At night, in the cabin, we could listen to the wild sounds, bobcat, coyote, owls, dogs, deer, etc. We went out to the lake again. We'd been there a few hours when we heard something yell or scream. My father starts jumping and swimming while yelling for us to get in the car, lock the doors. This huge, hairy-looking beast is running, chasing my father until he jumped in the lake, and it stopped at the edge of the lake. My father was standing in the lake, and it was about 2 feet taller than my father. I will never forget it. Next news break, the next show.
Good evening, or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of Java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio. After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am. A big shout out to Metatron Power and Light. They sent me over about that music we just heard before the news. I'll tell you what. Somebody can play the drums, guitar, and the harmonica like you wouldn't believe. Well, Tom, I want to thank you for sending that over and allowing me to play it. Well, Joe, I mean, what do you think is going on out there? I really believe after I saw a Bigfoot, it exists. People are reporting, Mothman everywhere. There was a sighting here about a week and a half ago or a week ago in Eugene, Oregon. A trucker just went to one of those truck stops, had dinner, filled up his big rig, was getting ready to leave the parking lot. He thought he saw another trucker playing a joke, dressed up like in some type of outfit. But then he noticed the glaring red eyes. And then he noticed the thing kind of levitated off the ground. And then the arms, or I should say wings, came out. And the thing flew away. Now, he has messaged me about 4 or 5 times, and I really believe his story. Are you there?
Well, yeah. That first, let me say that harmonica guy is good. I just want to say that. It's a great harmonica.
Oh yeah.
This guy's description of what happened is very much like what these two ladies, actually 3 ladies and a man, who've seen either 1 or 3 Mothmans here in Crosbyton or close to Crosbyton. That's what they described. The wings are sort of like rags, maybe like more like a bat than a bird, and they haven't said anything about the eyes so far. No one said that, but they levitate. They just rise up and fly away. And 2 of the ladies described it as going in a circle and then flying away. So that really, to me, that's a real problem, because if you deal in spiritual things, we know that angels can levitate, demons can levitate, but almost nothing else can levitate. Hummingbirds do it because they flap their wings so fast, but for something to hang in the air as big as a man, that has been a really that's really been hard for me to try and figure out how that could be explained, unless there's an animal out there in God's amazing creation that can somehow levitate. I don't know of anything like that, but is it possible? I don't know anything that says no, they can't. But you'd immediately think, well, this has got to be demonic or something. But I don't know. The story of this rising and levitating is like the Bigfoot that appears to appear and disappear. It is really a puzzle. It's like, well, they seem to be these ape-like creatures that do similar things. They eat, they yell, they throw rocks, they have families, they leave big footprints, and all this sort of stuff. And then, but if they're that much like any other group of people or animals, how is it they can just disappear, or do they? So the Mothman thing, could just be a giant moth, might be a bird, might be an angel, might be a hybrid, a Nephilim, a cross between an angel and an animal of some sort, all that stuff. But to be able to levitate almost demands that you give it a spiritual context, but I'm not sure that answers it either. So was this Eugene thing, was this recent that you heard this?
Yeah, it was actually early last week. And now here's another thing. You work with bones and stuff like that. Birds, their bones are hollow, to make them light. Now, the guys said this thing was like about 7-8 foot tall. And again, he said it levitated off the ground. It put what he first said, arms, but then he corrected it, wings out, and it took off, and it just barely moved the wings. I would think if something is 6, 7, or 8 feet tall, it's going to weigh a lot. It would have to have huge wings. It would have to flop it what to even get off the ground. But levitating and this kind of flying away. Now again, I had a trucker back about a year ago that was on the show, and he was in Texas. I guess you go through Dallas and you're heading east or whatever direction. There's a desert there. If I remember what the guy was saying, you would know more than me. And he was out of Dallas, he said, about 20 miles going into this area. Now, he said that he was, doing the speed limit. And it's late at night. He looks out his, driver's side window, and he sees this creature. It looks like Jeeper Creepers. That movie Jeeper Creepers, that ugly creature. Looking at him with the eyes glaring. And then it kind of took off. And he's doing whatever the speed limit is out there. I don't know, maybe 60 or whatever it is. This thing just took off like he was standing still. Weird report.
Well, these two guys here back on